Tree Talking Time is brought to you by Conkey's Outdoors and Stone Creek Hound Supply. Be sure to check them out for all your hound hunting needs. Welcome to Tree Talking Time, where we talk all things tree dogs, from the smallest feists to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game. Welcome back to another episode of Tree Talking Time. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to go over the summer giveaway one more time. First place is an ultralight briarproof jacket from Stone Creek Hound Supply, along with a JC custom coon squaller from Red Fern Hound Supply, and a 1-year subscription to Full Cry. Second place is a coon squaller and some swag from Conkey's. How you enter this contest? Well, you go to treetalking.com and you buy a shirt. Or you can head over to Conkey's and they've got some shirts on their Traditions collection that are Tree Talking Time shirts. So if you buy one of the Tree Talking Time shirts, so not, the George Washington with his hound or the mounted fox hunt one or, some of the other ones that they have, not just any shirt on the Tradition collection, but the Tree Talking Time ones specifically, then those will enter you as well. Hope you guys are enjoying this summer. I know it's been a little hot up here, so I haven't been out much. Look forward to some cooler temperatures, that's for sure. So, in the meantime, stay cool and hope you enjoy this episode. Thanks.
So we were out west, and we were cat hunting mountain lions.
Mm-hmm.
And I found, so we had I gotta explain at the beginning of it. We had hired a cameraman that we hadn't used before.
Okay.
And he had very, very little hound hunting experience.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, that can be difficult just getting thrown into a situation.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, there's a lot of changing conditions out there. It was freezing cold weather. I mean, extremely cold, probably, I want to say around 10 degrees. We're going through batteries pretty quickly on these cameras and stuff. And
I think that's something most people wouldn't realize, that cameras and cold don't mix well.
They don't. It can be a pain just trying to deal with. Because when it's cold like that, a battery will just go from 50% to zero quick. And those lithium batteries can be sometimes unpredictable. But this actually has to do with a mic issue and wind. There was, of course, snow on the ground, and it was really windy, and the audio from this hunt was just horrendous. And it just was not good at all. So this video never made it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But we had treed a cat earlier that day, and we're leaving. And as we were leaving, I looked out, and on this little berm, it looked like a cat track. I mean, a mountain lion track is I think is very easy to pick out from other animals just because it has a certain look to it. It's a clean track, especially a bigger track is easier to see. These, round shaped paws, depending on what the snow looks like. But I remember this looking extremely round, and just a clean track with a long stroud. But it wasn't right on top of the road. The track was actually 100 yards off the road. And I said, stop the truck. So I run out there.
How in the world did you see that from 100 yards?
Just the way it was walking. Like it was in an opening where I could, look at it for a few seconds and pick up on that is not an elk, or that's not a mule deer. It wasn't dragging its feet. It just said it looked like a cat.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see enough of the track to see just how it was walking, and it was on a berm walking, almost like how a cat would walk on the beam inside your house or on a porch or something.
Okay, yeah. And
so I run out there and check it, and sure enough, it was a old melted out track. But and where it was, the sun was directly hitting it. And I took Bliss with me and put her on it. And Bliss is my go-to dog. She just turned 6, and she's my go-to.
She's the one that started it all.
Right. And so I put her on it, and she could smell it, and was going track to track. And she's smart enough that even if she can't smell it, I literally watch her. Just she'll go and check each track like she knows that's a cat if I'm putting her on it. So she's checking each track, and she opened on it a few times, but just I knew it was going to be a pain. Just dropping her on it and just like, okay, go trail it. And this was such a big track that.
Now, what time of day was this?
So it was, I want to say around 11 a.m.
Okay.
And
so
we were leaving this area after treeing a cat. We were leaving this area just to go hit something else. And so, yeah, there's still plenty of daylight left. But anyways, I sent the guys that were in the truck. I sent them out. And this is, I should say this. This wasn't the normal set of guys that I typically hunt with that are experienced cat hunters. These guys, it was some of their first time cat hunting. So okay. I'm normally, if you watch my videos, I hunt with my buddy Trace and Chad, and they are excellent cat hunters. And so I sent them out, and I was hoping that they would cut the track because it was, I get on the maps there and look, and it's heading towards another road. But it was such a big track, I didn't want to leave it. Like I was going to start walking it right there with Bliss, and once they found it crossing another road, then I would just beeline it to them, and we would put dogs on it from there. But I was not about to leave that track at any point. And so we get out there on it, and I'm walking it, and I walk it for hours, probably until 4:00, and it's walking right towards the road that the truck is sitting on. And long story short, the cat had came out in the road, and I had walked it for hours on end, and Bliss was still having trouble with it at that point. And then once it hit the road, now when it did, I'll give them credit. When it hit the road, it was amongst a bunch of other tracks, and it's an older track. Still at this point, it's really old. And so I see how they didn't see it. And then when it hit the road, it probably walked the road for 200 yards. So it wasn't just bam, bam across. It walked this road. So, I know it's somewhere in the road. We're looking all over. We can't find it. And I was like, man, I know this cat is somewhere in the area. Where it entered the road, I can't find where it left the road, which just left me bum puzzled. And we had like an hour, maybe an hour and a half at most of light left. And so I was like, let's come back in this area. He went into here. Tomorrow, we need to go check all these surrounding roads, yada, yada, yada. Loads the dogs up. We go 200 yards down the road, and the cameraman that I told you had very little experience says, "Oh, stop! I thought I saw a track." And of course, I'm thinking, "Yeah, I'm sure you saw a track." I'm not even paying attention, and I'm in the driver's seat, and it was on my side. Sure enough, he saw the track, and that's where that cat had crossed.
Jeez.
He had walked the road for 200 yards. So I got excited, and I was like, "We got daylight left. I'm not giving up on this." So I get Bliss out and put her on it right there, and I take off walking in behind it, and they're staying in the truck waiting for me to tell them, what I think we should do next. And she gets out of there and starts trailing it, jumps it, and I can hear. I'm telling them on the radio, like, I think she has it jumped, and luckily it hadn't moved from that point. It hadn't moved far, and she ends up getting it treed, and it is a massive mountain lion. Probably the biggest mountain lion and oldest mountain lion that I will ever see in a tree. And we get in there. A buddy of mine, he had a tag, and he killed the cat. And we get it on the ground, and it barely had a tooth left in its head.
Oh, geez.
It was that old, and it's the ideal cat that you want to take.
Mm-hmm.
Not only because it's a big mature tom, but when I say it barely, it was so old that it was missing a canine on one side. The other one was completely wore down, missing molars. This thing was a big old warrior. And it was, but back to it, this video has never been on the internet because there's no there's no audio of it. The audio is shot.
Oh man,
Um,
that's awful.
it's just, I like to put out high quality stuff,
Yeah.
complete hunts, and this is just not at all. And it was such a cool because Bliss treed this cat by herself.
Hmm.
It's a booner. It's a legitimate booner, and it's just an ancient cat that unfortunately won't ever see the light of day of the internet.
Now,
But there is photos on my Instagram. It's pinned
okay,
on my Instagram. So if you're listening to this, you can go look at that.
I'll have to definitely make
It's
sure I check that out. I'm sure I've seen it if it's on your Instagram,
yeah,
but
yeah. It's a giant. You'll see my buddy's trying to hold it up in the photo and literally can't get it off the ground.
gotcha. Now that brings me to a question. Like I said, I've picked up a camera a while back, and actually a lot of that's because of you. And so brings me to a question: like, do you ever monitor your sound while you're trying to film?
Yes, to a degree. Now the so if I, so I run a few different cameras. The GoPro's
Mm-hmm.
auto sound, so that makes it easy. I use my iPhone a ton now in my videos. If I'm self filming, I'm 100% using iPhone and GoPro footage,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't used to do that, but the iPhone has such good like the newest iPhone has 5x optical zoom, and it is phenomenal. It's awesome audio. I love it. But my big rig, my Sony ZV-E1 that I run, it also has an auto mic on it now because with hound hunting, you might be just sitting here talking like we are, just
Mm-hmm.
nice and calm to the camera, and then your dogs blow up and it just distorts the audio and ruins it. I mean, it sounds so blown out. It's hard to even watch
Yeah.
or hear when you're watching the video. So I fought with that because I've ran a bunch of different mics, and the mic has to be just auto adjusting. It has to be quick
Okay.
making those adjustments because the different sound that you experience when you're hound hunting. I mean, it can be
Yeah. Oh yeah.
just like this, and then it can be at 100.
Yep. Nah, that's something I've been, I don't know, trying to play with more. And I'll be honest. So I know some of my listeners have probably heard the story, but you probably haven't. So watching your original videos is kind of what made me. I was like, not saying I'll ever throw them on YouTube, but I'm like, if I ever have, you know, if I can make videos similar enough, obviously I'm not saying they were going to be yours, but just of my own hunts and hunting with my friends, and we could look back on just for ourselves at the very least was kind of my original purpose and reason I bought a camera. I was like, it'd be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And and even with photos, like probably the best dog I've ever owned, all I have is cell phone pictures of her. And I'm like, especially now that I carry a mirrorless around, I'm like, I really wish I had something a little better of her. But
Right.
I quickly learned the filming with dogs on the ground was super hard. Like I could not balance, you know, trying to be active and participate in a hunt and also run a camera and do both justice. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I give you all the props in the world. And, I know there's some other guys that do it and do a pretty good job of it, but I just couldn't do it. So after I picked up a camera and, spent some money on a camera, I'm like, well, now what? So that's when I kind of got into photography because I'm like, I can throw it in a bag, drag it to a tree, and then worry about it, you know,
Right.
but not have to worry about having a camera out and the whole process in between.
Right.
So
Right.
that's kind
No.
of what
Yeah.
actually pushed me into photography was like, I couldn't balance, running dogs and trying to film at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's truly a nightmare. You can be dude, like you worded it perfectly. Trying to do them both justice, like
Yeah.
pay attention to your dogs at the level you need to, and also
Hmm.
capture it on video.
Yeah.
It's so hard, and that's why in training season, I'm not as worried. I'm not as worried about like messing up either one because it's practice. Is what
Yep.
it is. I'm going to mess up. The dogs are going to mess up. Now I have done it for a number of years now, and
Hmm.
so I've kind of got it. I've got a system down um, that allows me to do both. I feel like pretty good.
Yeah.
But whenever it is season, I hire a cameraman every hunt. I have a hired cameraman there with me
Hmm.
because it's just when it's season and there's guns involved, you need to be on your toes, and you need to be putting 100% into the hunt and not worried about the film as much. That's why I bring a cameraman along with me.
Yeah. No, for sure. That was kind of like what I learned quickly. And even watching your videos, I learned that. I'm like, when you first started, you were just the cameraman. When
Right.
before you had hounds, it was like that was you were the cameraman. And then quickly after that, I remember seeing you guys looking for interns and stuff. And I was like, but at that point, I already had a wife, kids, job, responsibility. So otherwise,
Right.
if you were older than me and I would have seen all, and I would have been like 20 years old when you were asking for an intern, I probably would have been in West Virginia.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, yeah. That intern program was pretty cool, and it's actually it's helped kickstart whether they stayed in the outdoor industry or they did or didn't. Either way, it looks good on a job's resume. And
Oh,
heck,
for
when you're
sure.
in college, I did something similar with Buck Commander. That's where I really learned cameras. So
Yeah, I knew that. How did that come about?
it's a bit of I'll try. I'm just going to try to give you the 30-second recap of it because it's a complicated story. But basically, I know a guy that went to college. Excuse me, my dad knew a guy that went to college with Willie Robertson
Okay.
before Duck Commander, before they were famous, and
Yeah.
they've stayed in close contact. And long story short, they needed a camera guy and they needed one quick. And he was like, "Hey, Doug, doesn't your son film?" And at this point, I was horrible, horrible. I didn't know anything about cameras.
Yeah.
And I was going into, I was going into my sophomore year of college. And so, uh, I was like, I'll drop everything to go do that. And so, I dropped everything, put school on pause, and went down south for 6 months and helped them out, which really, that kind of gave me the confidence to go out and do my own thing. And it forced me to learn cameras quick
Yeah.
because I was just thrown into a professional setting and I had no idea what I was doing. So it was either look like an idiot and embarrass yourself or figure it out. And if you don't figure it out, you're going to have some really, really famous people mad at you.
Now at that point, had Duck Dynasty been on, or was that before Duck
Yeah,
Dynasty?
yeah, no, that
Okay.
was.
I
Yeah,
wasn't
that was
sure.
actually post Duck Dynasty. It was like them coming off of it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's pretty
that,
cool.
but yeah, my first hunt was like this was. They really threw me into the fire, which I loved. I mean, I absolutely loved it. But my first hunt, I filmed Luke Bryan. We elk hunted for a week in Colorado, and
Oh,
that was
wow.
my first filming gig. And I was like, geez, they must have really been desperate to send me out there. I mean, I was 19 years old.
Yeah. Now, so obviously you had been running a camera a little bit before that. Like, what was your experience before that?
Just just self filming or filming my buddies when they've let me just around the house. I mean, I like cameras and filming since I remember having a Motorola Razor when I was like in the fifth or sixth grade. I
Yeah.
convinced my parents to get me one, and I remember being in the backyard with my brother, just filming, just filming whatever. And I've always kind of gravitated towards them. I got away from them as I got older, just because of sports. I played 3 sports in high school, and so spring, summer. I mean, I was just busy all year long. And then when I went back into college is when it kind of piqued my interest again. And I
Okay.
grew up watching. I grew up watching mainly. I don't have a. I didn't come from a hound hunting background. No
Hmm.
one in my family hound hunts. It was something that I developed later in life. But I just grew up watching the Outdoor Channel with Michael Waddell and those guys on there. So that's kind of what was my inspiration to grab a camera to begin with.
Okay. Now that's super interesting, and I don't think most people probably realize, unless someone's followed you from the beginning that has really known all of that. And like I said, I have, and I've heard you mention it, but I really didn't know how that transpired and how you actually got in with filming their hunts for them. But that's pretty crazy
Yeah,
though that your first
yeah, it's
hunt
just
was.
a mutual contact. They needed someone fast, and most people, most people just can't drop everything and do it, and I was willing to do it because I mean I was in school. I wasn't tied down to anything.
Yeah. Conkeys Outdoors is proud to be a sponsor of Tree Talking Time. Family, hunting, tradition is the Conkeys motto. They understand the importance of passing down the tradition of hound hunting. They are a family-owned business that treats you like family. They also understand the importance of having the gear you need when you need it. Conkeys carries everything for your next hunt, and it ships to your door quick. They also offer great warranties on all tracking systems and financing options. Check them out at conkeys.com. You can also use the code TreeTalkingTime5 in all caps to save as well. Now that's pretty cool. And like I said, it's pretty crazy. They threw you in on an elk hunt with Luke Bryan for the first one.
Yeah, literally. Like when I first, they took. So I went down their headquarters. They gave me a camera, and they're like, "All right, what do you know about it?" I'm not kidding you. They gave me the camera, and I couldn't turn it on. I'm not. It wasn't just like open it up and it automatically turns on or something.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't turn it on. I remember being just horribly embarrassed, but they were extremely nice, took their time with me, and just, I remember them being like, all right, go out. I would literally walk outside the office and go get some shots of what you think looks cool out here. Like, I was out in their yard filming trees, filming cars driving by, filming trash can, or whatever I could. We'd bring it back inside and review it. They'd mess the camera settings up. They'd send me back out there, and then that's how I learned to film.
Yeah.
It was perfect. But that taught me a lesson that when I was teaching people, you know, as I got older, and then we started getting interns, or like my camera guys now that I hire, they have zero filming experience.
Mm-hmm.
Zero. I train them, and then once season comes around, I'll start, paying them just to be out there with me every day. And so it really, I know exactly how they felt. So it makes I'm glad I had that experience because I know how they feel going into it, and it helps me, to help teach them.
Yeah. Now, do you have any advice for any, obviously this podcast is more geared towards hound hunters, but not guys looking to get into the outdoor industry. So you have any advice for houndsmen that are trying to film their own hunts?
Yeah. Just be patient with it. And the best thing you can do, so for houndsmen, like we discussed, there's so much going on. You've got to pay attention to your dogs. It would be better, like if you go watch my videos, if you're listening to this right now, and we're recording it, I guess in July,
mm-hmm.
Any of the videos you watch from this summer that I'm uploading are all filmed with an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
The iPhone, and most people have an iPhone.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not sponsored by Apple. So,
you wish.
But yeah, right. But it's great. I mean, it really is phenomenal for capturing footage. The audio, I don't even have to hardly adjust the audio in post. The audio is great. I take a little selfie stick with me out there, and I mean, it's simple as that. So that's if you're wanting to get into it, that's what I would start with.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of, if you want to grow from there, that's up to you.
Yeah.
I would, like this fall, I'll still be filming a lot of my footage though with the phone. So the cameras and technology out there, in my opinion, it's got amazing.
Oh yeah. Now, do you use just the in-app camera, or do you use like a third-party camera app?
No, I just use their in-app camera.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, my footage now is kind of geared more towards, I don't want to say it's a vlog or whatever. I mean, you watched my videos since the beginning, and they used to be extremely cinematic.
Yeah.
And now there still will be, especially once actual season starts and we actually start, hunting. There will be parts of it, but for me now, it's as much as I guess kind of a vlog style video where I'm just trying to film a little bit of everything, and it's more personal, and it seems like people enjoy that style more.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the direction I've went with it.
Gotcha. Now I've heard that from some guys that from different YouTubers and stuff, that honestly making it personal is what makes people connect to it. So that doesn't really surprise me that those videos have done well for you.
Right. And when you go the cinematic version, it's highly edited, and there's just people are getting bits and pieces because it's so edited. Whenever it's more of just the vlog style. It's more raw. It
Hmm.
seems like people gravitate towards that, even though it doesn't visually look as cool.
I understand.
So,
I get,
yep,
as somebody that's kind of, like I said, I fell in love with the camera because of it. I'm personally more of a fan of the cinematic stuff, but that's because
right,
I
right,
understand a lot of the stuff behind it now. So
right.
I understand what it took to make it. So as well.
Yep, yep. No, I totally get that. I mean, that's like I take pride in getting cool, I guess, cool shots and a unique shots of a
Hmm.
bear crossing. In a race, always I have destroyed trucks just from not just bear hunting, but filming to get to the spot to try to get this bear crossing on video.
Yeah,
And I always try to get that cinematic of the coolest shot I can. So I'm right there. I'm right there with you. I really appreciate it.
I tried to do that once. We had we went down this road, come back, dogs rigged, so we dumped them. Went down the they went down the mountain, and all of a sudden they turned around and start coming back up. And we had just drove through there, so we knew it was real fresh. So we're like, it just crossed this road after us, so now it's wanting to go back up and get away from these hounds. And so I go running with my phone out, trying to get it. Didn't get it. They crossed the road before I got there. Stuck that phone in my
Yeah.
pocket. Never turned the camera off. Like an hour and
Oh.
a half later, I get up to the top of the mountain and I look at my phone to see what time it is. And my phone is completely dead. When I left the truck, it was like 40 degrees. And yeah, it's December, but when you're moving, you get warm quick, right? So I had my jacket
Right.
wide open, but it had rained the night before, so everything was wet. So now I'm soaked and going through a bunch of, mountain laurel and stuff. And then I get up there and like I said, my phone's start dead. I have no idea what time it is. And all of a sudden it starts to snow. And I'm like, lovely. And meanwhile, my dog, I have no idea where he's at. I've got a question mark on him.
Oh, geez. Was it because the collar went out, or was it he's too far?
It, pretty sure he got back in like a hole and it lost communication.
Oh, yeah. I guess
And then
that
it
too.
just never picked back up. And I'm calling this dog, toning him, nothing. Like it's still saying, and I'm like, all right, I have no idea what time it is. It's starting to snow. I'm soaking wet. Sorry, Timber. Like I'm walking back to the truck.
All right.
And so luckily he found me on my way out, but I was
Good deal.
soaking wet when I got out of there. But like I said, all because I was trying to film them cross the road and I never turned my camera off and I pulled my phone out and like I said, it was as dead as could be. And the only reason I know that that's what I did is because I had like a 45-minute video in my pocket.
Oh,
After I got back and I plugged my phone in and charged it.
right, right.
Like there's
Yeah,
a
you get to
45 there's a 45-minute video of from the inside of my pocket.
You probably got some great audio.
Yeah, probably me cussing a whole bunch because I was not happy that day. Like I said,
That's great.
that area is not the most bear hunter friendly. There's a
Yeah.
reason I've been told by multiple people no one hunts there. There's a reason you don't see anybody up there.
Yep. Yep. You'll have those. You'll have those spots, and usually there's a reason people stay out. You quickly
Yep.
find out.
But, it's public. My buddy he does all right there, but he just goes on lots of long walks.
Right.
So, and that was a day where
Right.
we both went on long walks and we went two opposite directions. He went one way to get
Yep.
some dogs, and I went another way to try and get mine.
I'm very fortunate in a lot of the areas I hunt have very very good roads, which back to the filming thing helps with the videos because it
Oh
allows
yeah.
me to get around quick. But
Hmm.
I've also hunted big tracts of national forest where there's not a road for miles, and the
Hmm.
dogs are heading that direction, and you're in for a long day.
Yeah, it's where I bear hunt in West Virginia. That's what it's like most of the time.
I got you.
So now you said you started later in life, and if people aren't familiar, you were filming hunts and actually you went with what Trace, I believe,
Yes. Yep.
and that's what got you into hound hunting. But um, the one thing I kind of want to talk about is your dogs and kind of the you've got Kemp bred dogs and kind of what makes them so good for bear hunting.
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
say the average houndsman, especially that one that listens to a lot of podcasts, is familiar with who Mike Kemp is and his dogs. And if you're not, guy from Oregon, breeds running walkers and treeing walkers, kind of his own little proprietary mix that he doesn't really discuss with anybody, and sells a lot of dogs. But he sells a
yep,
lot of them to the East Coast for bear and
a
cat
lot.
dogs. And
Yep.
so what makes them such great bear dogs?
Well, I have. So Mike is nice enough. I haven't ever purchased a dog directly from Mike.
Okay.
Not for no for not any reason. I just haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been fortunate that we have made outcrosses or crossed some of his dogs, um, and had really really good success with it. Because I believe in his bloodline,
Mm-hmm.
and we've had great success with it. Like Bliss, for instance, she's 3/4. She's a quarter English, but 3/4. I guess Kemp bred.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so I guess back to your original question though. What makes them special? So the guys that I hound hunted with when I started was when they started getting heavily into the Kemp stuff. My buddy Craig had been hunting it for a number of years. He had purchased a lot of dogs from Mike, and the part of the state of West Virginia I'm in was one of the last sections they added bear hunting to.
Okay.
So whenever they added it to the southern part of the state, you could hunt with dogs. Uh, Craig went around buying just he had no idea what he was doing. I mean, you can imagine there's not much information out there. He doesn't live around any bear hunters because it's a new thing for our area.
Yeah.
So he went around just getting. Of course, you can imagine if you go around. He literally drove around the state in places like Pocahontas County where
Yeah.
there's piles of bear hunters. Greenbrier County, all these places where there's a lot of bear hunters, and he's wanting to buy dogs from them. What do you think he's going to end up with? They're
Probably ended up
cold,
with a pile of calls. Yeah.
right. That's so. He went through it. He tried everything, and then I think the story he told me he was reading it in a magazine, and I can't remember what magazine it was, but read something about these Kemp hounds, and he was like, "I'm going to order one of those." And so he ordered the first dog from Mike and really liked it. The dog could move. It was his first solid dog. And then he ordered more, and then he ordered more, and then he ordered more, and then he started making his own crosses. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's kind of how his dogs, other guys in the area were bear hunting, and they got together, and his dogs were just performing phenomenally. Were fast. I remember he said, some of the guys in the area that had bear hunted told him that these bears down here don't tree. Like they won't go up a tree because they had such. I mean, that was the hounds were so slow and couldn't tree a bear. That's what they thought is that the bears around here didn't tree.
Yeah. That's
And
funny.
so yeah, and then he started treeing bears, and they couldn't believe it. And then he started doing it consistently, and then he had a real pack of bear dogs. And so that's when it really, really started to take off. And that's kind of when I entered and started going and filming it. And then next thing you know, they have a litter of pups, and Chad had a litter, and I was riding with him. We were filming a video, and he's like, "Man, you need to go. You need to get a pup." And I was like, "Chad, you understand? Everybody likes these videos, and I like making them. But if I get a dog, y'all don't understand how much I pay attention to this camera. I can't
Yeah.
pay attention to a dog and a camera." And I knew it before I even went down that road.
Yeah.
But I got the first one, and it was one of those things where I was like, I'm just going to get one dog. And one dog turned into 10. So it's where we got to now. But the reason we like them is they're very athletic. I'll hear people say that they're not they're not cold nosed. I have heard that, and I've heard that they don't have enough grit, and I don't have a clue what they're talking about when they say that. I'm not saying every single dog you might get from Mike is the coldest nosed dog in the world, or the most gritty, whatever. But if I could take grit out of my dogs, I would do it. Because sometimes they are too gritty, and I end up at the vet. Now, luckily, the pack I have right now of the dogs I have, they're very very smart. They will stay bayed on a bear and rarely get touched. They're my style. I don't like
Okay.
a dog that is just a suicide bomber
Yeah.
that you get a hunt once a month because the other 3 weeks he's down.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, I know guys that
and
have those.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I've had them. I had this is a full bred Kemp dog that was a suicide bomber. Um, yeah, it's not my thing. I don't like that style of dog. But if it's bayed up on the ground, just keep it bayed. Please do not try to go grab that thing. I mean, I'm not saying don't ever go grab it, but there's a difference.
Yeah.
And but um, and then back to the cold nose thing. Literally, the coldest nosed dog I've ever stepped foot in the woods with came directly from Mike.
Okay.
And that's actually Bliss's grandpa.
Okay.
And in a lot of the blood that we hunt today is from him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Gotcha.
that's I guess that's why we hunt those dogs. And for me it was, and I always say this too. If I entered and I started hunting with plot guys, I would probably be hunting plots today.
Probably, yeah.
If I entered and I was hunting with red bone guys or whatever it is, then that's probably what I would have ended up with. Just like a lot of people are just kind of they're born into a bloodline essentially.
Oh, yeah. Completely understand what you're saying by if you fell into them, but I was just curious as to what you liked about them.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think they're all around dogs. They're fast. They trail great. I can take them to Florida and catch and bay hogs. I can take them out west and tree mountain lions with them. And I can take them to the nastiest, rugged terrain in West Virginia. High walls. I mean, the nastiest stuff, and consistently catch bear with them.
Nice.
And I don't think I could ask for, I don't think I could ask for much more in a hound.
Mm-hmm.
But I've said this, and I'll say it again. If I found another dog that was whatever breed it was, it doesn't matter to me. That was just an absolute stud and was bigger, stronger, faster, cold, had a better nose. You name it. That's the dog I'd breed to, regardless of what the breed was. And I would have no problem if they came out brindle or if they came out purple.
Yeah. You're not colorblind. That's good.
Not at all. Not at all. And it's hard. I guess it's kind of silly to be colorblind when you're already hunting mixed dogs. Yeah, they do have a certain look to them, but at the end of the day, it's not like they're a pure breed.
Yeah. Now, you just brought up a good point and you even mentioned it in the beginning. How many different states have you hunted with your dogs in?
I've hunted not a ton. I mean, of course, West Virginia, North Carolina, Florida, Arizona, a little bit of Colorado, New Mexico. And off the top of my head, I think that's it, but there may be more. I want to, it's not going to be this fall, but within the next few years, I would like to almost do a dog tour where I try to go and tree a bear in every state you legally can with my dogs.
That's pretty cool. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I would like to try to do that in one season, but that's going to take a dedicated season where I can't.
Sure.
Like I've got mule deer tags, I got elk tags, I got a lot of stuff going on this fall, so I know better than to try that now. But I think that would be a really cool series and something I'd like to do on my channel.
And at the same point, it'd take a lot of coordination of
planning. Yes, you have to nail down like what happens if you go on a dry spell and 2 or 3 days you're in a gar hole and you can't find a bear to tree. And you might have a 3-day window to hunt a certain state, and that gets knocked back. I mean, you don't know how it's going to go. So I've got to definitely you hit the nail on the head. It's got to be coordinated.
Yep. Now, because there's a couple states that don't have long seasons and stuff, so or know, especially with coordinating that with other seasons, you might be trying to hit, like an early season or like a mid season that's only like a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
No, but I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh no, I think it would be. I think it would be a blast.
Hmm.
But it could easily get messed up. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure. I don't know. Do you know how many states you're allowed to legally run bear with hounds in?
I don't. No, I do not. It was just an idea I recently had.
I want to say Clay on his podcast has said like, I don't know. I think it's like 13 or 15, something like that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not a
yeah. See, and that's what I would
ton,
guess.
but
Yeah,
and I would say most of them. If you're on one coast or the other, well, not you're not on the coast. You're either in the Rocky Mountains or you're in the Appalachian Mountains. So
right, right. And I guess I would have to. I guess I would have to, like Idaho, for instance. I know you've got to have a houndsman license. You got to apply.
yep,
So I couldn't do that without, obviously having that license. So if I don't get the license the year I plan on doing it, then
yeah,
it gets bumped back an entire year.
exactly.
So,
Well, it
hmm.
depends on how you want to, what you classify as a season, because they have a spring season.
I guess as long as it's in a calendar year, then
Yeah,
I would consider it.
gotcha. Well, in that
Yeah.
case, you could plan a lot of your western hunts. Well, not maybe not all, but you could plan some in the spring.
Yeah. No, that's a great point.
Stone Creek Hound Supply, a family-operated business, boasts over 50 years of involvement in hounds. For over 2 decades, they've been dedicated to supplying high-quality hound gear. Their reputation is founded on unparalleled quality and exceptional customer service. Crafted from U.S. source materials, Stone Creek clothing is meticulously manufactured right here in Pennsylvania. Through their commitment to excellence, many of their customers have become lifelong friends. We've made it this far in, and I honestly forgot to have you introduce yourself, but I think most people probably know who you are, but just by some chance, somebody doesn't. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay. I if you're listening to this long, you don't know who I am. I do appreciate it. You listening to me. This song. My name is Kirk Price, Kirk. Some people think it's Kurt for whatever reason, but it's Kirk. I'm from West Virginia. I still live here. Um, as you've probably figured out by now, I have a YouTube channel, and yeah, that's what I do. I make YouTube videos, and it's largely around my dogs. Um, that's the bulk. I do a little bit of everything,
Hmm.
just because I love being in the outdoors. But it's centered. I would say it's centered around my dogs.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, and I know multiple houndsmen that, you know, don't run bear or cats or anything that are coon hunters that are like, oh man, have you seen his videos? I'm like, yes, I'm well aware of his videos. I have followed him for years.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I
or
think, and I think it did so well initially just because there wasn't really someone doing it. Like I wanted to be like you turn on TV, you turn on TV, you go to the outdoor channel, and you see deer hunting, deer hunting, deer hunting, elk hunting, and then deer
yeah,
hunting, deer. That's the way I looked. I was like, why is there not this for houndsmen? I mean, there's a bunch of houndsmen out there. That's
yeah,
why I think it did so well, is because we put it on a platform where you could go watch it at any time.
yep,
Um, and I thought, I thought it was covered well, and professionally. So
yeah,
I think that's why it's had success.
for sure.
But it's definitely it's a fun thing. I mean, like we've talked about, I started off as cameraman, and then quickly I couldn't handle it. I had to have my first one, and I hit the lottery with my first one. And from there, it was I I literally I purchased a house. I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, and the biggest decision with the house was, can I keep hounds there? So to say it's taken over my life would be an understatement.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think. I mean, the fact that you also make a living being a YouTuber and filming your hunts and the hound hunts being such a big part of it, it's a big factor as well.
Yeah,
It's not only
yeah, no,
your hobby, not only and houndsmen we live our hobby. It's a lifestyle, and so not only is it a lifestyle in that regard, it's a lifestyle in the fact that it's what pays your bills.
yeah, yeah, and I don't ever want it to get to a point where it's like, I guess, forced. Like, I've been really fortunate, and I've still just been able to do what I want with it.
Hmm.
And I've never really had to force anything to where, um, I'm just doing stuff purely to get paid. I always want to keep it as genuine as possible, and I guess essentially not sell out, and
Yeah.
just do it purely for views or clicks. Like, if I'm filming it, it's something that I would normally be out there doing.
Hmm.
So yeah, and of course the hounds are a huge part of that.
Yeah. Now, with talking about your YouTube and stuff, you just went on a pretty cool trip that you just dropped a video on probably a week or two ago about your trip to Africa.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
that was pretty wild. Like, it's not hound related at all, but I would say it's pretty interesting. Even if I don't watch a lot of, no offense, anyone's deer hunts, including yours, elk hunts. Like, it's just not something that I'm interested in.
Right. You're not going to offend me.
But I sure as heck watched that daggone video from Africa.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good. See, I like, sometimes people will leave comments and they'll be like, I don't mean to offend you, but, and I'm like, you're not offending me. I like hearing feedback. That's interesting um, that you liked that video though. I mean,
Yeah.
I see why you liked it. As far as, I mean, Africa is, it's a wild place,
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything in the video is new. It was for me filming it.
For sure.
Just literally, I didn't know what was going to happen next. The first 5 minutes of the actual hunt, um, to start the hunt, I shoot a baboon in a farmer's field right out of the gate. And
Yeah.
so I was like, I was not expecting that. I had no idea that was going to happen. Um, so yeah, no, that's good information though. I'm glad that you liked that. And that video was performing. I mean,
Oh,
last time
shocker.
I looked at it had 1.7 million views.
Wow. And it's a long video too. So
Yeah, yeah, and
that's
that's
pretty
kind
saying
of
something.
so that's kind of the direction I've went with it. With longer, more detailed videos.
Hmm.
Just the feedback. Going back to the comments, I had people leaving me comments like, "Man, these videos are only 10, 15 minutes. Like, we want to see more. We want to see more."
Hmm.
And so, like the last hound video I uploaded, I really got super detailed and put way more stuff than I normally wouldn't include in it. And maybe I went a little overboard with it. And, the video is performing well. It's not performing great, just based off prior videos.
Hmm.
But I'm always, and I got feedback from someone saying, his exact comment was, "This is the first KP video that I felt like there was just filler footage or something." Like, I don't remember how he worded it, but
Yeah.
that comment in particular stood out to me because I mean, I take it, obviously I take it personal,
Hmm.
but in a good way. Like, I'm always just trying to make the best video for the audience. That way,
Yeah.
it maximizes their enjoyment. I don't want them to click on a video and be disappointed whenever they click on one of my videos.
Hmm.
So
No, for sure. And I understand that. And like, I love hearing feedback about the podcast and what people like to hear. Cause like I told you before we started, you know, most people that come on this podcast are people that I genuinely want to talk to. But at the same
right.
point, I've had some great suggestions of people that I've never heard of, people that I do not know of. And somebody
Hmm.
says, "Hey, you should talk to this person." I'm like, "Okay, who are they? What do they do? Why should I talk to them?" And they've been great. Some of,
Right.
great people. Like, it's just, I didn't know of them or I didn't know about them. So it's not that I'm opposed to doing different things or anything, but if it's left to me, I'm picking people that I want to talk to. Just
Right.
just because that's kind of how I got started in this. And so,
Right.
unless somebody's like, "Hey, this is what we want to hear," you're getting what I want, because that's so.
Yeah,
But
no, no. I mean, and I as a listener to podcasts, um, sometimes I'll click on a podcast and I'll hear who the guest is, and I'll think, I'm not interested in what they got to say. And then
oh,
an
for
hour
sure.
in, I'm absolutely glued to it. So you can't judge. I guess you can't judge a book by its cover.
I I've been there, and at the same
Yep.
point, I used to be very avid podcast listener just with my works, the way my schedule and what I did, and I used to be able to sit and listen to podcasts all day long, and that's actually how I got into them, because the radio gets old real quick when you listen to it all day long.
Right.
And so that's how I kind of fell into listening to podcasts. But now I just have shifted away from in what I do at work, and I don't have the time I did before. So I'm very choosy about what I listen to because all I have is a name and a description and very limited time. So I'm like, which one of these sounds the most interesting, like this week?
Right.
And it just, I don't have the time to go listen to them all. So I'm like, you know, I've been blown away by ones that I didn't think I would before, but at the same point, a lot of times anymore, I'm listening to people that I feel sound interesting, whether I've heard of
Right.
them or not. It's like, I read the description and I'm like, does this sound like something I'd want to listen to? So,
Yep. Yep. No, I totally get that. And for me, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts right now in the summer because I'm not traveling much.
yeah.
And if I'm not hunting, then I'm back in my office,
Hmm.
editing video, working on the next video, whatever. But if I'm in the fall and winter, when I am traveling, driving across the country, whatever, that's when I listen to, a lot of podcasts, and it varies from hunting to just Joe Rogan, whatever.
Yeah. No, I've got a wide range of podcasts I listen to as well, and actually a lot of them are camera stuff and, different tips and tricks of how to film stuff, how to edit videos and stuff like that. And I've learned a lot from that. So,
Yeah, yeah. No, and that's, if someone listening to this is wanting to get into it. If I don't know how to do something, like you said, podcast one are a great source. If
mhm,
it's just you might hear something in there that you never even thought of asking or searching or whatever. But
exactly.
there are so many YouTube videos on how to do anything,
I am.
and a lot of step by step. I YouTube stuff to this day.
Hmm.
I literally YouTube stuff today on how to do this, how to do that, for whatever it is.
Hmm.
So YouTube is a great resource.
Yep. No, when I first started getting interested in the cameras, YouTube University was where I went,
Yep.
and a lot of it was, all right, watch a video and then pick up camera and go try to figure it out in the out in the real world. So, and there's mostly coon hunting photos is kind of what I've started with because I coon hunt more than anything.
Right.
There's no YouTube videos on how to take a picture of a dog at night. You know, so
you are you are exactly right. No,
trying
no,
to
and
figure that out.
that can be tricky. Yeah, yeah. That's one that's just trial and error.
So, but I really appreciate you coming on, Kirk. And unless you've got something else, I mean, I don't want to hold you up too long tonight.
No, no. I mean, I think that unless you have a specific question or anything, I think that pretty much covered it. I've had a great time talking to you.
No, I really appreciate it. And we'll have to definitely do this sometime in the future.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for asking me to be on. I
Yep.
mean, it's been great. Of course, like I told you in our messages, I have listened to your podcast before.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
one of the few dog I do. It's one of the few dog hunting podcasts I listen to.
Well, I
Um,
appreciate it.
no problem, no problem at all.
Alrighty, thank you.
Thank you.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talking Media. And until next time, keep them talking in the timber.